Welcome to the channel. Today, I'll be recapping the thrilling action drama movie called The Kingdom. It is one of the finest action drama based on FBI Bravo agents who without permission entered Saudi Arabia and destroyed a group of Al-Qaeda terrorists. That's called defeating them on their own land. The movie starts with a flashback in Saudi Arabia, where bin Saudi captured most of the Arabian Peninsula to establish the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. People in Saudi Arabia were searching for water, but instead, they discovered a large amount of oil. Despite protests, the king made a deal with Western countries because everyone needed oil, and Saudi Arabia needed food and water. However, many people disagreed with this deal, and as a result, controversies and terrorist incidents began to happen. The United States sent its forces to the Middle East and created the FBI's Terrorism Task Force to investigate these attacks. Later in the movie, we see a housing compound owned by an American oil company in Saudi Arabia. Many Americans were having fun playing games there. Suddenly, two policemen arrived in a car and started shooting randomly, causing panic among everyone due to the sound of gunshots. These fake policemen not only attacked homes, but were also hit by another car. A real police officer named Sergeant Hatham killed the fake policeman. It was then revealed that the fake policemen were actually terrorists. Meanwhile, another police officer tried to help the Americans, but turned out to be a suicide bomber, causing the death of several people. All these events were witnessed and recorded by some people from a distant building, including children who were forced to see the violence. These same individuals were the masterminds behind this attack. Now, the story moves to a classroom where Ronald is attending a meeting with his son's teacher. Ronald works as a special agent for the FBI. Suddenly, he receives a call from Special Agent Francis Manor, who used to be the legal officer for the FBI in Saudi Arabia. Francis tells Ronald that there has been a terrorist attack in the oil housing compound and many Americans have been killed. He urgently asks Ronald to come to Saudi Arabia. Shortly after, there is another big explosion near a hospital, causing more casualties, including the death of Francis. Later, in the FBI's strategy meeting hall in Washington, D.C., Ronnie informs everyone that over 100 people have died in the recent bombing, and more than 200 people are injured. Special Agent Janet becomes upset upon hearing this news, but Ronnie comforts her by whispering something in her ear, which calms her down. Ronnie then tells everyone to prepare themselves because he is going to an important meeting, and they might need to go with him. Meanwhile, in Saudi Arabia, police officer Hatham is being tortured. Army Brigadier Abdul Malik questions Hatham about his connection to the terrorists since they were wearing police uniforms, and Hatham possesses 6 uniforms. Hatham tries to convince the general that he is not a traitor and that he actually killed 2 terrorists. He explains that he sweats a lot, which is why he carries extra uniforms for his duty. Colonel Ghazi, Hatham's superior, presents evidence supporting Hatham's claims, and Hatham is released. Later, Ronnie and Agent Janet attend a high-profile meeting where they demand to send a responsible team to Saudi Arabia. However, the administration refuses to approve the mission. Nevertheless, Ronnie manages to arrange a meeting with the Saudi ambassador and obtains permission to travel to Saudi Arabia. Ronnie's team begins preparing for the mission. We learn that Agent Francis had trained Agent Janet in shooting, and they were close. Finally, we are introduced to the team members, Ronnie, Janet, Levitt, who is an intelligence analyst, and Grant, who is a specialist in handling bombs. Next, we shift to a scene in Saudi Arabia where Prince Ahmed tells Police Colonel Ghazi that they should go to the airport to pick up 4 FBI agents. He explains that the agents have come to investigate the explosion, and Brigadier Abdul Malik is leading the investigation. Later, Ronnie's plane lands at the airport, and the team meets Colonel Ghazi. He collects their passports and weapons before they set off in a convoy. The following day, they visit the compound where the attack took place, and it's in a terrible state. Ronnie's team is also present, and Prince wishes them luck with the investigation and invites them for dinner at his house. When the team starts their investigation, they face interference and were not allowed to touch anything. Then, they reach the building from where bombing video was recorded. The army personnel claim that only they are allowed inside the building based on Brigadier Abdul Malik's orders. This leads to a physical confrontation among those present. Consequently, Abdul Malik intervenes and gives Ronnie's team 5 minutes to enter the building and conduct their investigation. As they go upstairs, Levitt confirms that the video was recorded from that location since the police station, compound, and blast site are clearly visible. Ronnie informs Ghazi that this terrorist attack wasn't planned in one day. The attackers must have visited the building multiple times. Ronnie then hands over a bomb detonator to Ghazi, mentioning that they found it at the bombing site and asks him to start the investigation from there. Afterward, Ghazi informs Ronnie that Prince has invited them for dinner later that evening, which will take place at the palace. After that, hideout of the terrorists are shown where they were making bombs. They also had pictures of Ronnie's team, which means the terrorists' next target is the FBI team. On the same night, the FBI team goes to the palace with full security. There, they meet Prince Ahmed. Ronnie tells Prince Ahmed that the blast was planned from a building 3 kilometers away from the oil compound. Ronnie also asks for permission to work with Colonel Ghazi, praising his skills. Prince Ahmed grants them permission, so Ghazi and Ronnie will have full permission to investigate starting the next morning. The following day, they start working and drain water from the blast site. Meanwhile, Janet collects fingerprints from the dead bodies of the terrorists. She finds several pieces of bombs while examining the dead bodies. When she puts them together, they form a marble ball. Meanwhile, Graham finds some metal parts from an ambulance in the pit. As he gathers them, he realizes that the bomb was placed inside the ambulance. The terrorists detonated it near a water tank, so after the blast, the pit would fill up with water, making it difficult to know that the bomb was hidden in the ambulance. Ghazi tells Ronnie that he wants to take him somewhere. He takes Ronnie to a man and shows him the bomb detonator, asking if he recognizes it. The man confirms that it is a high-quality American military detonator, which is not easily available. It suggests that Abu Hamza, who has considerable power, might be behind this. After that, everyone gets ready, and after gathering all the details, Ghazi reveals that the bombing ambulance was stolen from King Fahd Hospital. Interestingly, there is a man named Mehtab working in that hospital, and his brother, Fahad, was killed by Sergeant Hatham. Afterward, the whole team, along with heavily armed personnel, reaches Mihat's hideout and launches an attack using a smoke bomb. They then enter the hideout and find only a few young men inside. Ghazi inspects them and concludes that they are not the real masterminds and none of them is a bomb maker. Usually, bomb makers have damaged fingers, but these men don't show any signs of that. It turns out that a complex bomb was made at a different place and placed in a car. So, the men they killed were just a part of the terrorist group, and the real mastermind is still alive. Deputy Chief Damon from the American Embassy arrives and informs Ronnie that the mission is accomplished, and they should pack up because everyone is leaving for America. Ronnie tries to explain that the real mastermind is still out there, but Damon doesn't listen, and the team reluctantly has to head to the airport. While their convoy is on the way to the airport, Ronnie becomes suspicious of a man standing on a bridge, observing their convoy, and notices that the last car of their convoy is falling behind. A car speeds toward their convoy from behind, so Ronnie swiftly turns the car's steering wheel, causing the pursuing car to crash into the terrorists' car, resulting in an explosion. That was the same car with the bomb. Although Ronnie's car spins out, they manage to escape safely. However, some individuals from the last car come out and start pulling Levitt. This alerts the team that there are terrorists disguised as police officers in the last car. Simultaneously, firing begins from the other side. Ronnie and his team quickly respond, eliminating the terrorist in the car. But by that time, the occupants of the last car have already escaped from the scene. Later, the team takes control of a civilian and starts following the terrorists. Levitt is being tortured inside the car. They follow the car and enter a dangerous area where the terrorists taped Levitt and took him away. Suddenly, a man fires a rocket launcher at their car, but they manage to avoid it. They also narrowly escaped a hand grenade. The team's car comes under gunfire, and they engage in a fierce fight with the terrorists. Despite the terrorists using rocket launchers, the team successfully eliminates many of them. Meanwhile, Levitt is taken to a hiding place where they plan to behead him on camera. The team finds a blood trail, leading them to infiltrate the terrorists' building. Ronnie reaches on rooftop and skillfully eliminates more terrorists from there. They enter the building one by one, eliminating the gunmen. Just as Levitt is about to be killed, Janet arrives and saves him by killing all the gunmen. They engage in intense hand-to-hand combat before Janet emerges victorious, saving Levitt. The team then regroups to search for the mastermind. While searching, they hear the cry of a child and discover a family in a room. Janet calms the child by offering a lollipop, and in return, the child gives her a marble. This leads the team to believe that the family belongs to the mastermind, Abu Hamza, as they found a similar marble at the site of the explosion. Ghazi examines an old man's hand and realizes that he is Hamza, the leader of the terrorist group and the bomb maker. However, Hamza's grandson appears and shoots Ghazi, prompting Janet to kill the boy. Hatham then shoots Hamza when he raises his gun. Ghazi's condition is checked, and shortly after, both Hamza and Ghazi deaths confirmed. Hatham and Ronnie are taken to Ghazi's house, where they meet Ghazi's family. The family tells Ghazi's son that his father was a brave and honorable officer who sacrificed his life for the duty. The team returns to America, where the FBI deputy chief informs them that their unauthorized trip to Saudi Arabia will be investigated. Levitt asks Ronnie what he whispered in Janet's ear when they learned about Frances' death, which stopped her from crying. Ronnie reveals that he simply said, "Don't be afraid, we won't leave anyone." On the other side, in Saudi Arabia, Hamza's daughter asks her son what her grandfather said to him before he died, and he tells her that he said, "Don't be afraid, we won't leave anyone." The movie concludes with this scene. If you enjoyed the explanation, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon.